All right, so let's talk about the physical geography of Africa. And again, we are big, broad scoped. We're not going to get too specific. But Africa is the second largest continent in size. Asia is the largest when we're talking about area in square miles. And it's really taller than it is wider. From the north in Tunisia to the south, or South Africa, it's 5,000 miles long, and there are 55 countries. The climate. Africa has all of the climate types except the cold climates of tundra, subarctic, and arctic, and that makes sense because the equator runs through it, so it's closer to the equator than the poles. It's very diverse in how much rain it gets and the kind of natural vegetation that is grown there. It spans from a desert getting less than 10 inches of rain a year to places that are rainforests that get hundreds of inches of rain a year. All right, so the rainforest is near the Congo River Basin, which again is right along the equator. The tropical savanna are tall grasses, which are on the outskirts of the tropical rainforest. They don't get quite as much rain, so they don't have that thick canopy of trees and the same animals or plants that are in a rainforest. So usually the tropical savanna are just large or tall grasses. The steppe region is it's the second driest, okay? So the driest is the desert, of course, where they get less than 10 inches of rain a year. There are two major deserts in Africa. In the north, it's the Sahara, and in the south, it's the Kalahari. So then right on the outskirts of the deserts are the steppe regions, which are not as dry as a desert, but still much drier than other parts of Africa. All right, so this map sort of shows you not only the vegetation, but also the rain and the climate type. So this is a climate type map. In the middle is the humid tropical. Right here is, again, along the equator, you can see there. And so this is going to be thick vegetation, that jungle-like environment. And that causes a lot of issues for economics and travel and just all sorts of issues that we'll address a little bit later. On the out of that is this orange area that's tropical savanna, those grasses that I told you. And then we have the big deserts, which this is the Sahara, is the red. And then here's the red, the Kalahari. And then this orangish red, which is barely a different color. Okay, that is the steppe region. And here's the steppe region. You can also see it's a little bit over here as well. So you can see it's there and a little bit on Madagascar. Those are the major climate types. You can see there's brown, which are highland, means it just has a different climate type. You might be along the equator like right here, but it's not going to be as hot because it's higher elevation. You have marine west coast, which is right here. You have Mediterranean, which of course is in the north along the Mediterranean. You have some humid subtropical right here, but the major ones are humid tropical, which is rainforest, tropical savanna, desert, and steppe. You're going to see these patterns are going to be very similar with economics and population as well. I kind of like to call it a sandwich. So in the middle of the meat is the rainforest, and then you've got your two kinds of cheeses, which are your steppe on both sides, and then you've got your lettuce or tomatoes, and then the buns are the desert. So that's kind of how it goes. All right, so unless there's some information about these physical features, you don't have to write them down, just label them on the map. So all three of these bodies of water, don't write anything down in your notes, but turn to the map in your packet, and that would be the physical features map, which you would find on page 5. The map on page 4 is just a blank political map, so you can study the map. You can study those countries that we went over the other day. All right, so we're going to label the two oceans in the Mediterranean Sea. The Atlantic Ocean is on the west coast, the Indian Ocean is on the east coast, and the Mediterranean Sea is to the north. All right, the Sahara. So you don't have to write Sahara down, but you might want to do that just to add the facts. So you'll write Sahara, and then this desert actually divides the population into northern Africa and sub-Saharan Africa. And what that means is the population that is in northern Africa is culturally different than sub-Sahara Africa. Lifestyles, life expectancy, diseases, natural resources are all completely different. The Kalahari Desert, that is in the south. All right, so Sahara is all the way across the northern portion of Africa, world's largest desert, and the Kalahari is in the southern part of Africa. All right, the Nile River. Please write down that 95% of Africa's population relies on the Nile River. The other major rivers besides the Nile, which of course the Nile is the world's longest river, and it actually starts out as two rivers, the White Nile and the Blue Nile, and then it empties into the Mediterranean Sea, so it flows north, which is a little bit different than most rivers we're used to. But the other river is Niger River, the Congo River, and the Zambezi rivers. So we're going to label those on your map. All right, so the rivers are the blue lines, of course. The Nile River empties into the Mediterranean Sea, runs through Egypt, but it also runs through South Sudan, goes a little bit into Ethiopia. Then we've got the Niger River, and remember we labeled Niger, so Niger River is easy to identify. It starts right here, and it flows and empties here into the Gulf of Guinea. And then we have the Congo River, which starts right here, flows up north, flows down along the border between the Congo Republic and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and empties out over here into the Atlantic Ocean. And that leaves this last river as being the Zambezi River. It starts here and curves around and empties over here in to the... All right, so the Zambezi River empties over here in the Mozambique Channel. All right, so let's move on. Victoria Falls. This is one of the world's largest waterfalls. It is not the largest. That is Angel Falls in Venezuela. But its nickname is the smoke that thunders because of the fact that it looks like it's smoke, but it's really mist. And the thunder, of course, is the amount of water that pours over Victoria Falls. Victoria Falls, of course, is named after Queen Victoria from England, and that is what the little hash mark is on the Zambezi River. All right, Congo River Basin. Well, we labeled the Congo River, so the Congo River Basin is going to be right along that particular river. So we'll label it on this side just not to get them confused, but realize a basin is along this river on both sides. Lake Victoria, also named after Queen Victoria, is the world's largest lake in Africa. You can see, there's a lake here. There's thin, narrow lakes that go right here, but Lake Victoria is this one that is the largest lake next to Kenya. The Atlas Mountains. Africa really does not have a major mountain range, but this range of mountains is the only significant range in Africa. And then we have Mount Kilimanjaro, which is not in the Atlas Mountains. It's kind of a extinct volcano that sticks out of the Serengeti in a different part of Africa. And Mount Kilimanjaro is the tallest mountain in Africa at over 19,000 feet. All right, so the Atlas Mountains run right along Algeria and Morocco, up in the northwest corner. And Mount Kilimanjaro is the triangle on the east side here. It is, the Serengeti is right here, which is next to Lake Victoria, where all the animals are. So you can see that Mount Kilimanjaro is in the background of a lot of pictures of the Serengeti. Mount Kilimanjaro. All right, so let's just look at these two locations just so you can kind of see these two in pictures if it loads. All right, so here's a bunch of pictures of Victoria Falls. So again, it has tons of water because of all of the rain that occurs in the rainforest. So that's what supplies a lot of the water in this waterfall. And then Mount Kilimanjaro, same thing. Like I said, it's near the Serengeti. So you can kind of see here's the Serengeti, and off in the top here, off in the distance, you can see Mount Kilimanjaro. And so it's an extinct volcano, so you can kind of see it looks like that. All right, the Serengeti Plains. Again, I talked about the Serengeti and Mount Kilimanjaro. I'll show you the pictures before I move on. Serengeti, again, is this plains that has a lot more wildlife and vegetation because of Lake Victoria. It attracts these wild animals. If you were to go to an African safari, you would probably go to the Serengeti. So these are all pictures of the Serengeti, and you can see it on this particular map. All right, so the Serengeti is right in this neck of woods. It's not really down here. It's really more to the east of Lake Victoria, but I didn't want to squish it in there next to Mount Kilimanjaro. So it just goes kind of between Lake Victoria and Mount Kilimanjaro.